Here is a rustic style picture frame collage made out of just a couple scraps. I'm using twine, some binder clips, and some eye screws, some scraps, and this is what you get. So if you'd like to build one, just stick around and I'll show you how I made one. Alright, materials needed. I got a package of screw eyes, 1 1/8 inch. Package of sawtooth hangers for the back. Both of these are going to last more than just this project, so stock for future projects. We're going to need 18 of these binder clips. We're going to need some twisted sisal twine, just regular twine. You can get this anywhere. And a halfway decent can of brown spray paint. Don't get the 99-cent stuff, it'll just flake right off. My scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood, it is 16 inches this way and 25.5 this way. This can be any size you want. This is just this piece of scrap that I have that's roughly the size that I do want. Piece of scrap 2x material, just needs to be longer than the piece of scrap here. And a scrap piece of 1x material. Minimum needs to be this long. So let me get this marked out with what we're going to do, and I'll show you what's going on. Alright, real quick before we get started marking the back piece. Actually, the first step is to spray paint these. That way they can be drying while you're doing something else. I've just got a couple pieces of 2x material screwed together in various shapes. A little piece of 1x for these eye hooks. I've had this together for quite some time. It's always handy to have something like this set up somewhere. All these extra pocket hole areas you can screw into the back of any type of project you're working on and clamp this to a sawhorse. Then you have a good spraying stand. But I'm going to spray these brown and set them off in the corner where sawdust won't hit them until the spray paint dries. Alright, so what I've done here is I've picked a corner and I've come over 4 inches, struck a perpendicular line, 4 inches, line, 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, and so on until I get to the end right here. Then I've got some leftover that I can't use. I'm going to cut this off on my last 4-inch marker, and that's going to be the end of it. What I'm going to do is take this 1x piece of scrap and I'm going to rip off 1/8 of an inch pieces that I can put on this center line. So I'll have an 1/8 of an inch strip here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then actually this won't be a strip. So 5 strips in the middle. I'm going to take the remainder of this and I'm going to rip off a 1-inch piece. And that 1-inch piece is going to go vertically on the end. So I'll have a 3/4 inch piece to match the rest of my verticals, and it'll stick out. It'll stick above this a 1/4 inch, which will be slightly higher than these inside pieces. So I'm going to get 2 of these cut, and then 5 of these interior pieces, and then we'll work on top and bottom. Alright, I've got my vertical pieces cut. I didn't have enough from that one piece of scrap to do the outside, so I had to use another piece of scrap I had. But it's just 1x material cut at 1 inch long. The inside pieces, I think what's kind of neat is if you can find a piece that has a knot in it, and when you're ripping your strips, you can orient them in multiple different ways. You can put them all the same direction, where it looks like, put the knot in the same orientation rather, where it looks like you can see it going through the wood. You may like that, or you may want to flip the direction left or right, front to back, and make the knot kind of wavy. That's what I'm going to do here, just to give your eyes something to look at a little bit. But anyway, I've got my strips sitting on the center lines that we cut or marked out a while ago. What I'm going to do is put a thin bead of Titebond on the back of it, center it on the line, and then just use 3 5/8 inch brad nails. One on top, one near the middle, one down here. I'm going to stain this, I think, an early American min wax. It's going to get pretty dark. look a little rustic. Also, all these bigger pieces, the two outside verticals and then the top and bottom horizontal pieces, I'm going to round them over pretty good with my belt sander, roughing it up at like a 80 grit, I think is on there, maybe a 40 grit. Really open the grain in this wood, and I think it'll look a little bit more rustic. I'll show you that process once I cut the top and bottom pieces. Alright, I've nailed in my vertical pieces with a little bit of glue. These are just sitting here on the side. Like I said, a little bit short from the scrap I used. I'm just going to run this through the table saw before I do anything with the bottom. Here's my 2x material for the top and bottom piece. And I'm trying to use this knot, and I think that's the last knot I have for this board. What I'm going to do is let it overhang about that much. No measurement, just whatever looks good. And then I'm going to strike a line about the same on this side. Cut it off and then rip down 1-inch sections. The top piece is going to be 1.5 inches tall, 1.5 inches thick, 1 inch tall. Same with the bottom. Normally I go a little bit less than that, but you know, whatever, we're just using up scraps anyway, and this will give it a little bit more of a bold impression. I'm going to get those two cut and then rip down, and then what I'm going to do is on the back side I'm going to run pocket hole screws, 4 or 5 through the top, 4 or 5 through the bottom, and no more than 3 for the sides. It's not going to really be supporting anything. Once I get everything ready for assembly, then I'm going to put my belt sander up here on the table, clamp it down, and then just round over every edge on the sides and top and bottom.